Greetings and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to talk a bit about why empaths become people pleasers due to their experience with narcissistic abuse. So the question I often hear is, why does narcissistic abuse often turn empaths into people pleasers? And it's important to recognize that this dynamic isn't coincidental. It's rooted in the interplay of psychology, neuroscience, and manipulation. More importantly, we'll discuss how the cycle can be broken and even used as a springboard for personal growth. And by the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of the science of people pleasing, how narcissistic abuse reinforces it, and actionable strategies to reclaim your power. Welcome again. My name is Dr. Nana Gyesie, transformational coach here at Inner Mileage Coaching, where we help folks heal, optimize, and align to their best lives right here and right now. So let's get into the science of people pleasing. What is it? So people pleasing is often misunderstood as a personality trait, but it's actually learned behavior and a coping mechanism. And at its core, people pleasing involves prioritizing others' needs and desires over your own, and sometimes or often to the point of neglecting your own well-being. From a neuroscientific standpoint, this behavior of people pleasing stems from your brain's fear response system, which is governed by the amygdala. In other words, when you receive a threat, whether physical, emotional, or relational, your brain activates a stress response, which is to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And the fawn response, which manifests as people pleasing, and I know I lived with this for decades, is a survival strategy. It's an attempt to appease the perceived threat, in this case, the narcissist, to avoid further harm. Think of it this way. Your brain is trying to keep you safe, but over time, this response can become ingrained, especially in environments where your safety or emotional stability is frequently compromised. And for empaths, this tendency can become particularly pronounced because empaths are naturally attuned to the emotions of others, making them more likely to detect and respond emotional cues. While this sensitivity is a gift because of the mirror neurons and other reasons, it can also make the empaths more vulnerable to manipulation. So you might ask the question, why are empaths vulnerable to people pleasing in narcissistic abuse? It's because empaths are compassionate and intuitive, above and beyond the ordinary. And it makes them, empaths, highly attuned to the emotional needs of others because of these mirror neurons I spoke about. And unfortunately, these same traits make empaths ideal targets for narcissists. And here's why. One, empaths seek harmony. In other words, empaths will go to great lengths to maintain peace in relationships, even at their own expense. Also, empaths feel very deeply. And the ability to pick up on subtle and emotional shifts means that they are often the first to notice when someone is upset, making them likely to want to step in and fix things, right? And empaths struggle with boundaries, particularly on an unhealed empath, because there is this natural inclination to want to help, and that can make it difficult for the empath to say no. So narcissists exploit these traits to create a cycle of, let's call it intermittent reinforcement, where they alternate between affection and rejection, creating the traumabond. And this unpredictability keeps the empath emotionally tethered, constantly striving to regain the narcissist's approval. And over time, this dynamic conditions the empath's brain to associate people pleasing with safety. Do you see? This isn't just emotional, it's neurological, it's psychological. And repeated exposure to narcissistic or narcissistic abusers reinforces neural pathways that prioritize the narcissist's needs over the empath. In essence, people pleasing becomes a survival mechanism deeply rooted in both the empath's biology and the relational experience, you see. So, what is the manipulative intent behind people pleasing? Why do narcissists encourage people pleasing? The answer is simple, it's control. The empath is driven by a desire to connect, the narcissist to control. And narcissists thrive on dominance. Therefore, by turning the empath into a people pleaser, they ensure that their emotional needs are consistently met without having to reciprocate. This control is achieved through deliberate manipulation tactics, including gaslighting, where the narcissist distorts the perception of reality of the empath, making the empath doubt their instincts. And this keeps the empath dependent on the narcissist's approval to feel grounded. It's subtle and happens insidiously over time. Then there's projection. The narcissist will often accuse the empath of being selfish or manipulative or any kind of traits that they actually embody. And in that projection, they create cycles of guilt where there is a feeling to prove your worth as an empath by pleasing them. Then there's also this intermittent reinforcement, which is the traumabond. The cycle is just like going to Vegas and playing the slot machines or wherever there's a casino. The occasional moments of affection or approval keep the empath hooked, even when the relationship is largely painful. So you realize that these tactics aren't accidental. They're not. They may seem so, but they're not. They are calculated strategies designed to erode the sense of self of the empath and increase dependence on the narcissist. So the question becomes, well, understood, but I'm still in there. What do I need to do? How do I break free? How do I transform this? Breaking free from people pleasing is possible, but not easy. Because whatever you practice, you get good at, even if you're practicing it unconsciously or subconsciously. The key is to shift from survival mode to empowerment. And here's some examples of things you can do. The first, as with anything, is to recognize the pattern, because awareness is the first step. Acknowledge that people pleasing is a conditioned response to trauma, not an inherent flaw in your character that says something about your worth. Talking about worth, the second is to rebuild your self-worth. In other words, learn to begin to seek internal validation versus external validation. Practice self-compassion and remind yourself that your value isn't tied to how much you do for others. It's not. And then 3, set boundaries. Your boundaries are a form of self-respect, self-love. So you start with small manageable limits like saying no to unnecessary obligations and expand. And you learn how to self-advocate for yourself. It's a little tautology there, but you get the point. Then ultimately, you also want to rewire your brain, because from a neuroscientific perspective, we know that when you engage in practices that expand and create new neural pathways, it leads to neuroplasticity. So things like mindfulness, meditation, journaling, affirmation, working with a certified coach like myself. And if I can be of help to you, type transform in the comment section or check out our Escaping Narcissistic Abuse course at innermarriage.com, where you can also book a free complimentary session. And you want to work with a coach or certified mental health professional, or licensed mental health professional that can help you with this. And ultimately, seek support. You just seek support. You can't do this on your own. So work with a trusted mastermind team that can help you. So we've talked about how to break free. We know that from a psychological standpoint, early experiences shape you. Neuroscience shows how it rewires the brain, and sociology shows that you get trapped in it because of cultural norms around gender, caregiving, and such. Now, to my fellow empaths, people pleasing isn't your fault. It's a survival mechanism born out of extraordinary sensitivity, but it's not your destiny. With awareness, courage, and support, you can transform this. And if you're ready to take the next step, type transform or reach out to us. And know that this happened to you for a good purpose. If anyone can benefit from this, share the video, like the video and subscribe, and know that there's absolutely no one like you, and people pleasing can't be ended. All the best and see you soon.